Okay, so OpenAI, right. Big news again. They just announced like a whole new series of AI models. It's not just an update this time. This is different. They're moving away from the whole GPT thing. You know how we've been talking about GPT-3, GPT-4?
Right.
Yeah, so this is like a whole other thing.
Yeah.
They're calling it the O1 series. And the big deal is these models are all about reasoning, like actually thinking things through.
It's a big shift. I mean, for a long time, AI development has been all about recognizing patterns. You feed in tons of data, the algorithms learn from it, and then they try to predict what comes next. But O1 is different. It's like OpenAI is trying to get these models to, well, think more like humans.
So instead of just spitting out the answer based on what it's seen before.
It's actually trying to figure stuff out, analyzing information, testing approaches, even recognizing when it's made a mistake, just like we do when we're trying to solve a tough problem.
So it's not just about being right anymore. It's about understanding.
Exactly. And that has huge implications.
Yeah.
Imagine what we could do if AI could not only process information, but actually understand it.
Okay, that's pretty mind-blowing when you think about it like that. And from what I've seen, these O1 models are already doing some pretty impressive things. Like we're talking AI going toe-to-toe with, really smart people.
It's true. Even though it's still early days, O1 is showing some remarkable abilities. For example, there are these benchmark tests that are used to evaluate scientific and mathematical reasoning. The next iteration of O1, the one they're working on now, it's on track to perform at the same level as PhD students.
Wait, seriously? Like, as well as someone with a doctorate?
Yep.
Okay, so how do they even measure something like that? What does that look like in the real world?
Well, take the International Mathematical Olympiad, for example. Those problems are so hard that even the best mathematicians in the world struggle with them.
Yeah, I've heard of those. Those are like next level math problems, right?
Exactly. GPT-4, which was already impressive, could only solve about 13% of them correctly. But the new O1 model, it got 83% right.
That's incredible. I mean, that's a huge jump. It's like we're reaching this point where AI isn't just helping us solve problems, it's actually getting better at it than we are.
And it's not just these abstract math problems. The O1 models are doing well in more practical areas, too. Like, there are these coding competitions, and in some of them, O1 has scored in the 89th percentile.
So this isn't just about writing poems or translating languages anymore.
No, this is about AI that could potentially design algorithms, write complex code, maybe even create the software of the future. And that's why this is such a big deal. It's like we're getting a glimpse of a future where AI isn't just a tool, it's more like a partner.
It's definitely a lot to take in, but before we get too carried away, we have to remember this is still early.
Right.
There's a lot of work to be done, and obviously there were some big questions about safety and ethics that we need to talk about.
Absolutely. And that's something we need to address. Because while these capabilities are incredible, we also have to remember that any new technology, especially something as powerful as O1, comes with its own set of challenges.
Okay, so we're talking about AI that can reason like you really reason, but how do we know it's going to reason in ways that, are okay?
That's the big question, isn't it? When you've got AI that can think for itself, you have to make sure it's thinking responsibly.
Right, because what's to stop it from like going off the rails? I mean, we've seen that in movies, but could it actually happen?
Well, it's a possibility. But OpenAI knows this, and they're doing a lot to address it. One of the ways they're tackling this is actually pretty clever. They're using O1's reasoning abilities to teach it about safety.
So it's like they're having the AI think about how to think safely.
Exactly. Instead of just programming in a set of rules, they're trying to get O1 to understand the consequences of its actions, like to actually get why certain things might be bad.
Okay, so how do they do that?
Well, one way is through something they call jailbreaking, which sounds kind of intense.
Jailbreaking, like breaking out of prison.
Yeah, kind of. It's like they're setting up these scenarios where the AI is tempted to break its own safety rules. It's a test to see how strong those safety measures really are.
So did it pass the test? Did they manage to keep O1 locked up?
They put it through some really tough challenges, and in one test, GPT-4, it only got a score of 22 out of 100.
Oh, that's not good.
No, not at all. But O1, it got an 84.
Wow. Okay, so it sounds like this whole teaching AI to think about consequences thing might actually be working. But how do we know this will work in the real world? I mean, those tests are one thing, but reality is a lot more complicated.
You're right. It's not just about passing tests. That's why OpenAI is also working with outside experts. They've partnered with some leading organizations in AI safety, like the US and UK AI safety institutes.
So it's like they've got these AI safety watchdogs keeping an eye on things.
Exactly. These institutes have access to a special research version of O1, and they're running their own tests to make sure everything is as safe as possible. It's like an extra layer of oversight.
Okay, that makes me feel a bit better. But all this talk of like super advanced reasoning and safety protocols, it makes me wonder who all of this is even for. Like, is this something that everyday people should be worried about right now? Or is this mostly for scientists and researchers?
It's a good question. And right now, O1 is probably most useful for people working in very specific fields.
So who should be paying the most attention to all of this?
Well, researchers, for sure. People working in areas like healthcare, physics, maybe even advanced mathematics.
Because those are the fields that could really use an AI that can crunch through huge amounts of data and come up with new ideas.
Right. Imagine O1 helping to develop new medical treatments or helping physicists unlock the secrets of the universe.
That's kind of wild when you think about it.
And we can't forget about developers, the people who actually write code. O1 has the potential to completely change how software is made. We could see AI writing code, fixing bugs, maybe even creating entirely new types of software.
So it sounds like researchers and developers are going to have a field day with this. But what about, the rest of us? Should we just be waiting for O1 to show up on our phone someday? Or
Well, they've actually made it pretty accessible already. Like if you're a ChatGPT Plus or Team user, you've got access right now.
Really?
Yep, O1 Preview and O1 Mini right there in ChatGPT.
Oh, wow. I had no idea they rolled that out already. Well, that's cool. What about everyone else? Like anyone using the free ChatGPT? Any chance they'll get to try it?
They're adding it pretty fast, actually. So ChatGPT Enterprise, ChatGPT Edu users, they get it next week.
Okay.
And for developers, they can already use O1 Preview and O1 Mini through the API. There might be some limits depending on their access level, but it's available.
Okay, so there are ways to get your hands on it or at least try it out depending on what you're using. Now, you mentioned O1 Mini. What's that all about?
Right, so that's basically a streamlined version of O1. It's specifically made for coding, and I think it's smart because not everyone has, supercomputers to run these massive AI models.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's like the more compact version.
Exactly. Faster, cheaper, and it can run on less powerful hardware.
Okay, so just to be clear, O1 Preview, that's the one going head-to-head with the PhDs, and then there's O1 Mini, which is more for like everyday coding stuff. But what about us regular folks using the free ChatGPT? Are we out of luck for now?
OpenAI has said they're going to make O1 Mini available to all ChatGPT free users at some point. Haven't given us a date yet, but it's coming.
Okay, well, that's good to know. So we've covered a lot today, but it feels like this is just the tip of the iceberg, right? Like we're just starting to figure out what this whole reasoning AI thing can really do. Where do we go from here? What's next?
It's an exciting time, that's for sure. OpenAI has said they're going to keep developing both GPT and O1, so we're going to see even more impressive stuff, I think, as they keep improving these models.
Like what kind of stuff? Should we be getting ready to have like deep philosophical debates with our AI assistants, or are we not quite there yet?
Well, right now, they're working on adding things like web browsing and file uploading to O1. So basically, giving it all the stuff ChatGPT can do, but with that extra reasoning power.
So it's like taking the best of both worlds and like merging them together.
Exactly. I mean, imagine AI that can not only access and process information from everywhere, but also actually understand it and use it in a meaningful way. We're talking about AI that could potentially help us with really complex tasks in a way that feels really seamless and integrated.
It's both exciting and a little, I don't know, maybe even a little scary when you really think about it. As we wrap up here, is there anything else you think is really important for people to keep in mind as we, go further down this road of reasoning AI?
I think the biggest thing is to remember that this is just the beginning. AI is changing so fast, and we're only starting to understand what that means. We need to be excited about the potential, absolutely, but we also need to be thoughtful and careful. We need to talk about the ethics, about the risks, and make sure we're developing this technology in a responsible way.
It's like we're stepping into uncharted territory. It's full of potential, but we need to be aware and proceed with caution. Well, thanks for joining me today and helping us explore this really complex and rapidly changing world of AI. This has been a fascinating deep dive, and for our listeners, we hope this has given you a lot to think about as well. We're living in a time where science fiction is becoming reality, and it's up to all of us to navigate it responsibly. Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep diving deep.